My answer is simple. We are alive, we are free, and we are expanding. That is what 6 months after the Sol System battle, the Galactic Council watched their worst fears come true. The humans had not stayed in their home system. Instead, they were spreading through space like a plague, establishing military bases and claiming territory that had belonged to the Council for thousands of years. Elder Voxtar studied the intelligence reports with growing dread. His crystal form flickered with patterns of fear that his species had not shown for millennia. They have established bases in 17 systems. Each one is heavily fortified and defended by ships we cannot match. How is that possible? Demanded General Hargoth. Our intelligence said they had fewer than 100 ships total. They're building new ones, replied Ambassador Veltar. Our observers report massive construction facilities in the asteroid belts. They're producing ships faster than we ever thought possible. What kind of ships? Not ships, really. Weapons platforms, mobile missile batteries, armored troop transports. Everything designed for one purpose: to kill us as efficiently as possible. Fleet. Admiral Song Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of his new flagship, Dragon's Fury, and watched the construction of humanity's first interstellar military base. The space station was ugly compared to alien architecture, but it was functional and deadly. Status report, he ordered. Commander Lee Tae-soo consulted his displays. The shipyards are producing 6 new vessels per week. The weapons platforms are online. The marine training facilities are at full capacity. Good. What about our expansion plans? Colonel Yoon has identified 12 more systems suitable for military bases. All are currently claimed by Council species, but none are heavily defended. Begin preparations for simultaneous assault. I want all 12 systems captured within 1 month. Sir, that will mean war with 7 different alien species. Admiral Song smiled coldly. Commander, we've been at war since the moment we refused to surrender. The aliens just haven't figured that out yet. On Earth, Dr. Shin Yu-jin presented her psychological analysis to President Lim and the military leadership. Her findings were disturbing even to the humans who had ordered the study. Madam President, I've completed my assessment of captured alien communications. The Council species are experiencing something they haven't felt in thousands of years: genuine terror. Explain. They're not afraid of losing territory or resources. They're afraid of extinction. For the first time in their recorded history, they face an enemy that might completely destroy them rather than simply defeat them. And are they correct to be afraid? Dr. Shin paused before answering. Yes, ma'am. Based on our expansion plans and military doctrine, we are indeed preparing to replace them as the dominant power in this region of the galaxy. Master Sergeant Oh-jun Seo had been promoted to colonel and put in charge of training the new Marine Corps units. His soldiers were preparing for missions that no human had ever imagined: boarding alien ships, conquering alien planets, and fighting in environments designed for different species. Listen carefully, he told a room full of young officers. The aliens fight with rules because they see war as a game to be managed. We fight without rules because we see war as a problem to be solved. What kind of problems, sir? Asked Major Kim Hae-won, a former Special Forces officer. The problem of alien species that want to control us. The problem of limited resources. The problem of potential threats to human expansion. We solve these problems by eliminating them. Permanently? If necessary. Remember, every alien species in this galaxy has already proven they believe humans should be controlled or contained. That makes them enemies, not neighbors. Lieutenant Commander Park Ji-hoon's submarine tactics had evolved into something much more sophisticated. His stealth ships could now move through alien space undetected, gathering intelligence and striking targets throughout Council territory. Report on the latest raids, Admiral Song requested during the weekly briefing. Sir, we've successfully destroyed supply convoys in 5 systems. The aliens still don't know how we're getting past their sensors. They're starting to escort even civilian ships with military vessels. Good. Fear makes them inefficient. What about their communication networks? We've tapped into 3 major relay stations. We're reading their mail, sir. And what does their mail tell us? That they're desperate. They're calling up reserve fleets from across the galaxy. Some species that haven't fought in centuries are being ordered to prepare for war. Colonel Yoon Hye-jin had become Earth's top strategic planner. Her job was to identify which alien species posed threats and which could be eliminated or controlled. She worked from a bunker deep under the Korean mountains, surrounded by maps of the galaxy and profiles of alien civilizations. The Council controls 1.2 million inhabited worlds, she reported to the Defense Council. But most of those species are completely dependent on Council protection. If we eliminate the Council military, the member species will have no choice but to accept our authority. How many species have significant military forces? Asked President Lim. 47, ma'am. But only 12 have forces that could threaten our expansion plans. Recommendations? Eliminate the 12 threats first. The rest will surrender rather than face destruction. Staff Sergeant Kim Yun-mi's boarding tactics had become the standard for human assault operations. Her teams could now take an alien ship in less than 10 minutes, killing the crew and capturing the vessel intact for human use. The key is speed and violence, she explained to her trainees. Get inside their ship, kill everyone who resists, secure everyone who surrenders. Don't give them time to think or organize. What about civilians? Asked Sergeant Park Min-jun. What about them? I mean, what if there are non-combatants on board? Kim Yun-mi's expression didn't change. Sergeant, everyone on an enemy ship is potentially dangerous to human expansion. Use your judgment, but remember that our mission is to eliminate threats, not to be nice to our enemies. The Galactic Council had called an emergency session that included every member species. The Great Chamber was fuller than it had ever been, with representatives from worlds that hadn't participated in council meetings for centuries. Elder Voxtar addressed the assembly with words that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. Fellow beings, we face extinction. Not conquest, not subjugation, but complete elimination as a threat to human expansion. Surely you exaggerate, protested Representative Jorval, whose species looked like floating jellyfish. They are one small species. We are millions of worlds. Listen to the human transmissions we have intercepted, Elder Voxtar replied, activating a holographic display. The chamber heard President Lim's voice addressing the human military. Our goal is not to conquer the galaxy, but to secure humanity's future in it. Any species that represents a potential threat to human expansion must be eliminated or controlled. There is no room for compromise. Then Admiral Song's voice. We will establish human military bases in every strategic system. Alien species will be allowed to exist only if they serve human interests. Those that resist will be destroyed. Finally, Colonel Yoon's cold analysis. The galaxy currently supports 1.2 million alien worlds. Our model suggests the galaxy can support 2.4 million human worlds. Simple mathematics indicates that alien populations must be reduced by at least 50% to make room for optimal human expansion. The chamber erupted in sounds of fear and anger. Representative Jorval's species made a high-pitched whining noise. The crystal tree people like Elder Voxtar flickered with rapid patterns of distress. The armored bear species growled and showed their claws. This is genocide, whispered Ambassador Veltar. They're planning to kill half the galaxy, not kill, corrected Elder Morden, whose metal form reflected the chamber's lights like a mirror. Replace. They will take our worlds, our resources, our place in the galaxy. Some of us will survive as servants or slaves. The rest will simply disappear. General Hargoth stood up, his bear-like form towering over the other representatives. Then we fight. We gather every ship, every weapon, every soldier in the galaxy, and we destroy them before they can destroy us. With what? Asked Elder Voxtar sadly. They have already proven that our weapons and tactics are useless against their methods. They use our own strengths against us. Our advanced technology becomes a weakness because it makes our ships valuable targets that they sacrifice cheap. Ships to destroy. Our civilized approach to warfare becomes a weakness because they fight without honor or restraint. Then what do you suggest? I suggest we try to survive what is coming. The humans are not interested in ruling us. They are interested in replacing us. We are about to become extinct, not because we are weak, but because we are in the way. Truth was finally clear to everyone in the chamber. Humanity had not entered the galactic community as members or conquerors. They had entered as an extinction event, a force of nature that would reshape the galaxy according to their needs. The age of the Galactic Council was ending. The age of humanity was about to begin, and it would be written in the blood of 1,000,000 worlds. 2 years after first contact, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. What had once been the peaceful Galactic Council territory was now divided into 3 zones: human-controlled space, contested systems, and the rapidly shrinking area still under Council authority. Ambassador Zhong Haiwan stood before the remnants of the Galactic Council in their emergency meeting chamber. The chamber itself showed the impact of human expansion. It was now only half full, as many species had either been destroyed, surrendered, or simply fled to distant parts of the galaxy. She was a small woman by human standards, dressed in the simple black uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. But every alien in the chamber knew she represented the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen. "Honored representatives," she began, her voice calm and professional, "I come before you today with humanity's final terms for ending this conflict." Elder Voxtar, his crystal form now permanently dimmed with grief, spoke for the council. "Ambassador, Zhong, your species has already taken 40% of our territory. What more do you want?" "We want the galaxy, Elder, all of it. But we're prepared to be reasonable about how we take it." The chamber erupted in sounds of outrage and fear. Ambassador Zhong waited patiently for quiet before continuing. "The terms are simple. All military forces under Council authority will be disbanded. All strategic systems will be transferred to human control. All species will acknowledge human authority over galactic affairs." "And if we refuse?" asked General Hargoth, his bear-like species one of the few that had successfully resisted human expansion. "Then the war continues until you have nothing left to refuse with." President Lim So-young's address to the joint session of Earth's government was broadcast throughout human space. She stood behind a podium made from metal taken from the first alien ship humanity had destroyed, a deliberate symbol of their rise to power. "My fellow humans," she began, 2 years ago, we were a single species confined to one planet. Today we control over 400 star systems and continue to expand at a rate of 50 new systems per month." The assembly hall filled with applause. In the audience sat the military leaders who had made this expansion possible: Admiral Song Hyun-woo, Colonel Yoon Hee-jin, Colonel Oh Jun-seo, and dozens of others who had become legends in human space. "But our success has come at a cost," President Lim continued. "We have been forced to make difficult decisions about the alien species we have encountered. Some have chosen to serve human interests and have been allowed to survive. Others have chosen resistance and have paid the price." Admiral Park Dong-min, now in charge of human expansion fleets, raised his hand. "Madam President, what is our long-term goal? Do we intend to control the entire galaxy?" "Admiral, our goal is to ensure humanity's survival and prosperity. If that requires controlling the galaxy, then we will control the galaxy. If it requires eliminating species that threaten us, then we will eliminate them. We do whatever is necessary." In the Kepler system, one of humanity's newest military bases, Fleet, Admiral Song Hyun-woo reviewed the latest expansion reports. His office was built into an asteroid that had been hollowed out and converted into a fortress. Through his window, he could see human warships patrolling space that had belonged to aliens just months earlier. "Status of the Rigel offensive?" he asked his aide, Commander Park Ji-soo. "Complete success, sir. The alien defense fleet surrendered after we destroyed their flagship. The system is now under human control, and the alien population has been relocated to designated areas. Casualties? Minimal human losses. Approximately 40,000 alien military personnel eliminated. The civilian population has been assessed for useful skills." "Good. What about the Vega system?" "More resistance there, sir. The local species appears to be willing to fight to extinction rather than surrender." Admiral Song nodded grimly. "Then we give them what they want. Order Colonel Kim's fleet to begin orbital bombardment. I want that system cleared for human colonization within the month." The strategy was working exactly as human planners had intended. Each victory made the next one easier, as word spread that resistance to humanity was futile. Colonel Ojun Seo, now commanding all human ground forces, stood on the bridge of a captured alien ship that had been converted into a troop transport. Through the viewport he could see the planet they were about to invade, a world inhabited by a species that looked like giant insects. "Remember your training," he told his Marines over the intercom. "These aliens have never faced ground combat, like ours. They're used to energy weapons and long-range fighting. Get close, use kinetic weapons, and don't give them time to adapt." Major Kim Hae-won, his second-in-command, checked her tablet. "Sir, intelligence reports that the planet's population is approximately 2 billion. They have no military tradition and limited weapons production. How long to secure the planet?" 72 hours, sir. After that, we begin processing the population." Processing was the human term for deciding which aliens would be allowed to live and work for human benefit, and which would be eliminated as potential threats or unnecessary resource consumers. Dr. Shin Yu-jin had become humanity's top expert on alien psychology and cultural elimination. Her job was to determine which alien species could be safely integrated into human-controlled space and which needed to be completely removed. "The key factor is compliance," she explained to a group of human administrators. "Species that can adapt to serving human interests are allowed to continue existing. Species that show signs of independence or resistance are eliminated." "How do we measure compliance?" asked Governor Lee Sung-min, who was in charge of managing alien populations in the Centauri sector. "Several factors: willingness to work for human benefit, acceptance of human authority, absence of cultural practices that might inspire resistance, and most importantly, no history of technological innovation that might allow them to become threats in the future." "What about their children? Do we educate them?" "We educate them to serve human needs. Their own culture, history, and traditions are discontinued. Within one generation they become tools rather than independent beings." Lieutenant Commander Park Ji-hoon had been promoted to admiral and put in charge of humanity's intelligence operations throughout the galaxy. His stealth ships now operated in every sector, gathering information and eliminating threats before they could organize. "Report on Council military capabilities," Admiral Song requested during their weekly briefing. "Sir, the Council has lost 60% of their military assets. Most remaining fleets are focused on defending their home systems, rather than mounting offensive operations. They're essentially in full retreat." "What about their attempts to build new ships?" "Unsuccessful, sir. We've identified and destroyed 17 shipyards in the past month. They can't build ships faster than we can destroy the facilities that build them." "And their morale?" "Broken, sir. Our psychological operations have convinced most alien species that resistance is hopeless. Many are surrendering without fighting." Ambassador Jong Hae-won's final address to the Galactic Council was brief and definitive. The chamber was now less than 1/4 full, as most species had either been eliminated or fled to distant parts of the galaxy. "The transition period is over," she announced. "As of today, the Galactic Council is dissolved. All former Council territory is now under human administration. Species that wish to continue existing may submit applications for supervised survival status." Elder Voxtar, one of the few remaining Council leaders, made one last attempt at negotiation. "Ambassador, surely there is room in the galaxy for both human and non-human civilizations." "Elder, the galaxy belongs to whoever is strong enough to take it and hold it. For 50,000 years that was you. Now it's us. But we offered you partnership. We offered to teach you, to guide you into the galactic community." Ambassador Jung's smile was cold and final. "Elder, we didn't want to join your community. We wanted to replace it. Mission accomplished." The last council meeting ended with Elder Voxtar's species' traditional song of mourning, a sound that carried across the chamber like wind through dead leaves. It was, in many ways, the funeral song for the old galaxy. President Lim's final address to humanity was broadcast from Earth to every human settlement across 400 star systems. Behind her stood the leaders who had made human dominance possible. Military officers, scientists, administrators, and colonists who had transformed a single-world species into a galactic empire in just 2 years. "My fellow humans," she said. "When we first encountered the aliens, they offered to guide us like parents guiding children. They wanted to teach us their ways, control our development, and limit our potential." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "Today, we control nearly half the galaxy and continue expanding at an unprecedented rate. We have established the principle that human interests come first, human needs are met first, and human expansion takes priority over all other considerations. The aliens called us primitive because we competed with each other, fought wars, and eliminated our rivals. They were right. We are primitive. We are primitives who learn to split atoms, bend space-time, and wage war among the stars. Some people ask if we have been too harsh, too aggressive, too willing to eliminate potential threats. The Galactic Council fleet moved through space like a parade of light. 50 ships, each one a masterpiece of engineering, glided in perfect formation toward the Sol system. Their hulls gleamed with energy shields that could deflect any known weapon. Inside the lead ship, Commander Quendall reviewed the battle plan with his officers. "The human system has one inhabited planet and several military stations," he told them. "We will position ourselves around their planet and demonstrate our power. Once they see our shields deflect their primitive weapons, they will surrender." His tactical officer, a tall being with silver skin, looked at the display. "Commander, our sensors show unusual activity throughout their system. Many small ships are moving to new positions. Evacuation ships, most likely. The humans are probably moving their civilians to safety before they surrender. Some of the ships appear to be heading toward us, sir." Quendall made the sound his species used for laughter. "Let them come. They will see how useless their weapons are against modern technology." On Earth, Admiral Kang Do-hyun stood in the command center buried deep beneath the Korean peninsula. The room was filled with screens showing every ship in the solar system. Most were human vessels, but they were not what they appeared to be. "Status report," he ordered. Colonel Yoon Hee-jin looked up from her displays. "All ghost ships are in position, sir. The enemy fleet will be in range in 6 hours. Ghost ships was the human term for vessels that appeared to be cargo haulers or civilian transports, but were actually weapons in disguise. Each one was packed with nuclear warheads and guided by remote control. To alien sensors, they looked harmless. What about our real fleet? Hidden in the asteroid belt and behind the moons. Admiral Song's ships are ready to move when the aliens are distracted. Lieutenant Commander Park Ji-hoon studied the alien formation from his position aboard the submarine-turned-spaceship Poseidon. He had spent years hunting enemy submarines in Earth's oceans, learning patience and the art of the surprise attack. "They're moving in standard formation," he told his crew. "No screening ships, no scouts ahead. It's like they expect to fight other people who follow the same rules they do." His weapons officer, a young woman named Kim Soo-jin, checked her displays. "Sir, our torpedoes are loaded and ready. Nuclear warheads, just like you requested." "Good. Remember, we only get one surprise attack. After that, they'll know we don't fight fair." Above Earth's surface, Staff Sergeant Kim Eun-mi prepared her boarding teams. Each soldier was equipped with kinetic weapons, bullets, grenades, and blades. That would work, even if the aliens could shut down their electronics. "Listen carefully," she told her troops. "The aliens have never fought hand-to-hand combat. They probably don't even know how. Get inside their ships, and we own them." Private Choi Min-ho checked his rifle one more time. "Sergeant, what if their ships are too different inside? What if we get lost?" "Then we blow them up from the inside," Kim Eun-mi replied. "Dead aliens can't control their ships." In space, Dr. Park Nari watched the alien fleet approach on Seoul's Pride. Captain Lee Tae-min stood beside her, his face calm despite the approaching battle. "Any last-minute diplomatic solutions?" he asked. "I tried, sir. Commander Quendall truly believes he's helping us. He thinks this show of force will save human lives by ending the conflict quickly. He's probably right about that, just not in the way he expects." The alien fleet reached the edge of the solar system and began broadcasting surrender demands. Commander Quendall's voice reached every human ship and station. "Humans of Sol System, you are surrounded by the Galactic Council peacekeeping fleet. Power down your weapons and prepare to receive our representatives. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force. President Lim So-young's response was broadcast from Earth to every ship in the system, human and alien alike. Commander Quendal, this is President Lim So-young of Earth. We have considered your terms and reject them completely. We will defend our independence with everything we have. President Lim, you are making a tragic mistake. Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Please reconsider before you force us to take action. Commander, we offered you friendship. You chose dominion. Now you will learn why humans are the only species on our planet that survived the competition to reach the top. There was a long pause. Then Quendal's voice returned, sounding sad and frustrated. Very well. All ships, implement corrective protocol. Disable human military vessels, but avoid destroying them. We want prisoners to question, not martyrs to inspire. The alien ships began to move into attack formation, their energy weapons charged, with power that made space itself glow around their hulls. On Earth, Admiral Kang gave the order everyone had been waiting for. Execute Operation Trojan Horse. All ghost ships begin approach. Make it look like you're trying to evacuate. Throughout the solar system, hundreds of ships that looked like civilian vessels began moving toward the outer planets. To alien sensors, they appeared to be exactly what the aliens expected. Civilians running from a hopeless fight. Commander Quendal watched the fleeing ships with satisfaction. See how they run when faced with real power. Target the military. Vessels first. Leave the civilian ships alone. They are not a threat. His weapons officer began charging the fleet's energy cannons. The plan was simple. Disable a few human warships, watch the rest surrender, then begin the process of integrating humanity into the galactic community. The first exchange began exactly as the aliens expected. Energy beams lanced out from their hay. Ships striking human military vessels. The human ships' shields failed immediately. Their electronics went dark, and they began drifting helplessly in space. Excellent, Quendal told his bridge crew. The humans are learning that resistance is futile. Signal the remaining human ships to surrender. But Admiral Song Hyun-woo, commanding the human fleet from his flagship Hidden Dragon, had other plans. Every ship that had been disabled was actually unmanned and filled with explosives. As the alien fleet moved closer to inspect their victories, Admiral Song gave the order that would change galactic history forever. Detonate all packages. The disabled human ships exploded simultaneously. But these were not normal explosions. They were nuclear fireballs that turned space itself into a burning hell. The aliens' energy shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did nothing against the pure kinetic force and radiation of multiple nuclear explosions. 3 alien ships were destroyed instantly. 5 more were heavily damaged, their shields flickering and failing. The perfect formation that had looked so beautiful moments before was now broken and scattered. Commander Quendal stared at his displays in shock. What happened? How did they? Weapons officer report. Sir, the human ships were bombs. They let us disable them to get close enough to hurt us. That's impossible. No civilized species would sacrifice their own ships like that. But even as he spoke, the second wave of human attacks began. The civilian ships that had been fleeing suddenly changed course and accelerated toward the alien fleet. Too late, Quendal realized what was happening. All ships, emergency evasive action. The civilian ships are weapons. The ghost ships slammed into the alien fleet like hammers hitting glass. Each one was a guided nuclear missile disguised as a harmless transport. Explosions bloomed across space as ship after ship found its target. In the chaos, Lieutenant Commander Park Ji-hoon's submarine tactics proved their worth. Using asteroids and debris as cover, his ship Poseidon fired spread patterns of nuclear torpedoes into the confused alien formation. Target their command ship, he ordered. If we can take out their leader, the rest might panic. The torpedoes streaked toward Quendal's flagship, just as Staff Sergeant Kim Yoon-mi's boarding shuttles launched from hidden positions throughout the system. The aliens found themselves under attack from every direction. Explosions from the outside, boarding parties from the inside, and nuclear fire from ships they couldn't even see. "This is madness," Quendall shouted. "They're destroying their own ships. They're willing to die just to hurt us." His tactical officer was trying to coordinate a defense, but the aliens had no experience with enemies who fought without rules. "Sir, their boarding parties are inside 7 of our ships. They're using primitive weapons that our internal defenses can't stop." "Primitive weapons?" "Bullets, sir. Actual metal projectiles. Our personal shields don't work against them." "Doctor." Shin Yu-jin had been right about the aliens' psychology. They could not understand an enemy that would sacrifice everything for victory. Every assumption they had made about the battle was proving wrong. Commander Kim Woo-jin, coordinating the human defense from a hidden command ship, watched the alien formation fall apart with grim satisfaction. "They fight like they're playing a game," he told his staff. "Beautiful formations, efficient tactics, minimum casualties. They have no idea what to do with an enemy that treats war like a fight to the death." The battle raged for 3 hours. When it was over, the mighty Galactic Council fleet was in ruins. 30 ships destroyed, 15 more captured by human boarding parties, and only 5 left intact enough to retreat. Commander Quendall, his ship damaged and his crew dead or captured, sent one final message to the Galactic Council before fleeing toward deep space. "Council Command, this is Quendall. The humans are not like other species. They do not fight to win territory or resources. They fight to completely destroy their 3 months had passed since the first meeting with the aliens. On Earth, in a deep underground facility in Seoul, Colonel Yoon Hee-jin studied the reports coming from space. She was a small woman, but everyone who worked with her knew she had a mind like a computer when it came to military strategy. "The alien fleet is larger than we expected," she told the room full of officers. 50 ships, each one bigger than our largest carrier." Admiral Kang Do-hyun, an older man with gray hair and tired eyes, looked at the display showing the alien ships. He had spent 40 years in the Navy fighting pirates and protecting shipping lanes, but he had never faced anything like this. "What do we know about their weapons?" he asked. "Energy-based," Colonel Yoon replied. "They can shut down our electronics from long range. Their shields can stop any energy weapon we have. But here's the interesting part. They don't seem to carry any physical weapons at all. No missiles, no kinetic weapons. None that we can detect. It's like they've forgotten that physical objects can be weapons too." In space, aboard Soul's Pride, Dr. Park Nari was having her final discussion with Commander Quendall. The alien looked frustrated, his forearms moving in quick, nervous gestures. "Dr. Park, surely you understand the situation," he said. "Your species cannot be allowed to spread through the galaxy with your violent tendencies. You still fight. Wars on your own planet. Commander, we fight because it has made us stronger. Every challenge we face teaches us something new. Competition drives us to improve. Competition is wasteful. Cooperation is efficient. The Council has proven this. Over thousands of years, Dr. Park studied the alien's face. She had learned to read his expressions over the past months. Right now he looked like a parent trying to explain something obvious to a stubborn child. "What if we don't agree to your terms?" she asked. "Then you will be made to agree. The Council, fleet is already moving toward your system. They will demonstrate our power and your leaders will see reason. And if we still refuse?" Quendall's expression became sad. "Then you will be contained on your planet until you mature as a species. Perhaps in a few thousand years you will be ready to join the galactic community." Dr. Park felt a chill run down her spine. "You would imprison an entire species? We would protect the galaxy from an immature species, while protecting that species from itself. It is not punishment, Dr. Park. It is guidance." Back on Earth, Private First Class Choi Min-ho was loading supplies onto a transport ship. He was young, only 22, but he had already served in 3 conflicts. His hands moved quickly and efficiently, checking each crate of ammunition. "Min-ho, what do you think about fighting aliens?" asked his friend, Private Lee Dong-soo. "Same as fighting anyone else," Min-ho replied. "Find their weakness, hit them where it hurts, keep hitting until they stop moving." "But they have advanced technology." Min-ho smiled. "So did the corporate armies in the water wars. We still beat them. Technology only matters if you know how to use it in a real fight." The alien council was meeting in their great chamber, a space so large it could hold 1,000,000 beings. The chamber floated in deep space, built from materials that glowed with their own light. Council members from 100 different species sat in floating chairs, all listening to Commander Quendal's report. The humans continued to resist, he said. Their representative, Dr. Park, seems intelligent, but she cannot see past her species' primitive instincts. What action do you recommend? Asked Elder Voxtar, whose species looked like trees made of crystal. The standard approach. A show of force followed by containment if necessary. 50 ships should be more than enough. And if they fight? Quendal's equivalent of a laugh was a series of musical tones. Honored Elder, they have metal ships powered by chemical reactions. We have energy shields and plasma weapons. Any conflict would last minutes, not hours. But Elder Voxtar looked worried. His species was one of the oldest in the galaxy, and they remembered things others had forgotten. Commander, has any species ever successfully resisted council authority? The few have tried, but they always surrender when they see our power. Why do you ask? I am thinking of stories my ancestors told. Stories about species that fought so hard they had to be completely destroyed rather than contained. But those are just old tales. With respect, Elder, those days are long past. No species in the modern galaxy has the will to fight a truly hopeless battle. On Earth, Captain Lee Taman stood in the briefing room at Space Command headquarters. The room was full of Earth's military leaders, scientists, and politicians. President Lim So-young, a woman in her 50s with intelligent eyes, sat at the head of the table. Captain Lee, give us your assessment, she said. Madam President, the aliens see us as dangerous children who need to be controlled. They believe their technology makes them invincible, but they have one crucial weakness. They haven't fought a real war in over 1,000 years. Explain. Their idea of conflict is what they call corrective action. They disable enemy ships and wait for surrender. They don't destroy their enemies, because they see themselves as teachers, not conquerors. General Park Dong-min, head of the combined forces, leaned forward. Are you suggesting we can defeat them? I'm suggesting they don't understand what they're facing. They think we're like every other species they've encountered, rational beings who will surrender when faced with superior force. And we're not? Asked the President. Captain Lee smiled grimly. Madam President, humans have never been rational about surrender. We'd rather die fighting than live kneeling. Dr. Shin Yu-jin, the government's top psychologist, had been studying the alien communications. She was a quiet woman who specialized in understanding enemy thinking. The aliens have made a fundamental error, she said. They assume all intelligent species think like they do. They've evolved past their competitive instincts because they see them as primitive. They can't understand a species that has kept those instincts and used them to become stronger. What does that mean for us? Asked the President. It means they will consistently underestimate us. They will make tactical and strategic mistakes because they cannot predict our responses. Fleet Admiral Song Hyun-woo had been quiet during the meeting, but now he spoke. He was the most experienced space combat officer on Earth, though his experience was limited to fighting human pirates and corporate fleets. If we're going to fight, we need to use tactics they've never seen. Their shields stop energy weapons, but what about physical projectiles? What about nuclear weapons? What about using our ships as weapons? You mean ramming? Asked General Park. I mean using every advantage we have. They fight with rules because they see war as a game to be managed. We fight with everything we have because we see war as survival. Commander Kim Woo-jin had returned to Earth to help with planning. He stood before a holographic display showing the alien fleet formations. They fly in perfect formations, he explained. Beautiful, efficient, predictable. They position their ships to maximize their energy weapons and minimize their exposure to similar weapons. Weaknesses? Asked Admiral Song. They have no point. Defense against physical projectiles. Their formations assume all attacks will come from other ships in similar formations. And most importantly, they seem to have no experience with opponents who are willing to die to win. Master Sergeant Oh Jun-seo represented Earth's Special Forces. He was a compact man with scars on his hands from years of combat training. Sir, if we can get boarding parties onto their ships, I think we can take them. Energy weapons are useless in close combat, and I don't think they've had hand-to-hand combat in centuries. Can we get close enough to board? Asked the Admiral. If we use the right bait, yes, sir. Make them think they've won, then surprise them. President Lim looked around the room at Earth's defenders. They were not the largest military in human history, and they certainly were not the most advanced in the galaxy, but they had something the aliens had lost, the will to fight against impossible odds. Recommendations? She asked. Fight, said Captain Lee immediately. Fight, agreed Admiral Song. Fight, said Commander Kim. One by one, every military officer in the room gave the same answer. Dr. Park Nari spoke from the communication screen, still aboard Soul's Pride. Madam President, I've learned as much as I can about their psychology. They genuinely cannot understand why we won't submit. In their minds, resistance is illogical and temporary. And in our minds? Submission is death, Madam President. Not physical death, but the death of everything that makes us human. President Lim nodded slowly. Then we fight. May God help us all. The decision was made. Earth would not surrender. The aliens were about to learn that some species would rather burn than bow. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 100 species stared at the holographic display showing the aftermath of the Sol System battle. Debris from 30 alien ships floated in space, while human vessels moved among the wreckage like sharks feeding on their prey. Elder Voxstar, his crystal tree form glowing dimly with distress, spoke first. 30 ships. We lost 30 ships to a species that has barely left their home planet. Ambassador Veltar stood with his forearms trembling. In 300 years of service, he had never seen anything like the battle recordings. The humans used their own ships as weapons. They sacrificed their people without hesitation. What kind of species does such things? A species that fights to win, said Elder Morden, whose people looked like walking metal. His species was old and had memories of the ancient wars. I remember stories of such fights from when the galaxy was young. Those are just stories, protested Ambassador Veltar. Modern species don't fight like that anymore. We've evolved past such brutality. Have we evolved? Or have we simply forgotten what our ancestors knew? Elder Morden's voice carried the weight of ages. Perhaps we forgot because we never faced an enemy that refused to surrender. On Earth, the victory celebration was short. President Lim So-young stood before the assembled military leaders, her face serious despite their success. We won the D-Mice first battle, she said. But this is just the beginning. The entire galaxy now knows about us and they won't underestimate us again. General Park Dong-min nodded. Madam President, our prisoners have given us valuable intelligence. The Galactic Council controls over 1 million worlds. Even if we destroyed their entire military, they could build a new one. What do you recommend? We take the offensive, said Admiral Song Hyunwoo. Hit their other fleets before they can organize a proper response. Show them that Earth is not just defending and we're expanding. Colonel Yoon Hye-jin had been studying the captured alien technology. Their weapons are powerful, but they're designed for the kind of warfare they understand. Energy against energy, shields against shields. They have no defense against our kind of tactics. Explain. They build their ships to last for centuries. Beautiful, efficient, expensive. We build our ships to fight and die. Cheap, fast, and deadly. We can build 10 ships for every one of theirs. Master Sergeant Oh Jun-seo stepped forward. Ma'am, I've been interrogating the alien prisoners. They keep asking when we're going to start treating them according to the rules of civilized warfare. They don't understand that we don't follow their rules. What do they expect? They expect us to feed them, give them medical care, and eventually return them to their people in a prisoner exchange. The idea that we might execute them or force them to work for us never occurred to them. Dr. Shin Yu-jin had been analyzing the alien psychology based on their behavior during the battle. Madam President, I believe we have a unique opportunity. The aliens are not evil. They genuinely believe they are bringing peace to the galaxy. But they have no experience with total warfare. Meaning, meaning they will continue to underestimate us until it's too late. They will send larger fleets, better weapons, more ships, but they will still expect us to fight like they do, for limited objectives with rules and honor. And we won't. No, ma'am, we'll fight like humans always have, for complete victory or complete defeat. In space, the captured alien ships were being studied by human engineers. Commander Kim Woo-jin walked through the corridors of the alien flagship, amazed by what he saw. The ship was beautiful. Every surface was smooth and perfectly crafted. The technology was centuries ahead of human science, but it had critical weaknesses that no alien engineer had thought to address. Lieutenant Park, what's your assessment? He asked his engineering officer. Lieutenant Park Soo-jin looked up from an alien control panel. Sir, these ships are built like museums. Everything is perfect, but nothing is designed for damage control. Once you hurt them, they can't fix themselves. Quickly. No armor? Energy shields only. If you can get past the shields, the hull is actually fragile. And sir, there's something else. They don't have any close combat weapons at all. No hand weapons, no security systems for boarding parties. It's like they never expected anyone to get inside their ships. Commander Kim smiled grimly. Because they didn't. In their kind of warfare, you disable the enemy ship and accept their surrender. Nobody boards enemy vessels because everybody follows the same rules. Staff Sergeant Kim Yoon-mi's boarding teams had captured 15 alien ships during the battle. Now she was training more teams for future operations. In a converted warehouse on Earth, human soldiers practiced moving through alien ship layouts. Remember, she told her troops, the aliens have never fought hand-to-hand combat. Their weapons are designed for ship-to-ship fighting. Once you get inside, they're helpless. Private Choi Min-ho raised his hand. Sergeant, the prisoners keep asking about the rules of engagement. What should we tell them? Tell them the truth. We don't have rules. We have objectives. What if they surrender? Then we accept their surrender and put them to work. If they resist, we kill them. Simple. The young soldier looked uncomfortable. Sergeant, that doesn't seem very civilized. Kim Yoon-mi's expression hardened. Son, civilization is a luxury you can afford when you're winning. When you're fighting, for your species' survival, you use every advantage you have. The aliens want to turn us into pets. I'd rather be uncivilized and free than civilized and caged. Lieutenant Commander Park Ji-hoon had become Earth's leading expert on space submarine tactics. His successful use of stealth and surprise attacks during the battle had proven that naval warfare concepts worked in space. The key is patience, he explained to a room full of officers. Let the enemy come to you. Hide in their blind spots. Wait for the perfect moment, then strike hard and disappear before they can respond. What about their sensors? Asked Commander Lee Tae-soo. They have technology we don't understand. They have sensors designed to detect energy signatures and metal ships flying in formation. They're not looking for ships hiding in asteroid fields or drifting with their power off. They expect their enemies to behave predictably. And we don't. Exactly. We fight like pirates, not like a proper navy. That confuses them. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the debate continued. The alien leaders were trying to understand what had happened and how to respond. We could send a larger fleet, suggested General Hargoth, whose species looked like armored bears. 1,000 ships instead of 50. To what end? Asked Elder Voxtar. The humans destroyed 30 ships with tactics we had never seen. A larger fleet just gives them more targets. Then what do you suggest? I suggest we study them more carefully before we make another move. These humans are not like any species we have encountered. Ambassador Veltar was still struggling to accept what had happened. But they're so primitive. They use chemical explosives and metal projectiles. How can they defeat energy shields and plasma weapons? Because they use their primitive weapons in ways we never expected, Elder Morden replied. They turned their own ships into guided missiles. They hid weapons inside cargo vessels. They boarded our ships with soldiers carrying handheld weapons. When did any of us last see such tactics? Never, admitted General Hargoth. We have fought for resources, for territory, for political advantage. but we have never fought for the complete destruction of our enemies. And that is what makes them dangerous, said Elder Voxtar. They do not fight to win. They fight to eliminate threats. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For 50,000 years, the Galactic Council had maintained peace by ensuring that warfare remained limited and civilized. Species fought for specific goals and stopped when those goals were achieved or proved impossible. But humanity didn't seem to understand the concept of limited warfare. They fought as if every battle was a fight for their species' survival. What do we know about their home planet? Asked Elder Voxtar. Ambassador Veltar consulted his records. Earth is a highly competitive environment. Multiple intelligent species evolved there, but only humans survived. They eliminated all competition through warfare, disease, and environmental manipulation. All competition? Yes. They are the only intelligent species on their planet. Every other advanced life form is extinct. The chamber became even quieter. The aliens were beginning to understand what they faced. A species that had already won a planet-wide competition for dominance. Elder, said General Hargoth slowly, if they eliminated all competition on their own planet, what do you think they intend to do to the galaxy? Elder Voxtar's crystal form dimmed to almost black. I think they intend to replace us. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Council faced an enemy that didn't want to join them, negotiate with them, or coexist with them. Humanity wanted to defeat them completely and take their place as the dominant power in the galaxy. The HFY War for galactic supremacy had begun. The space station floated quietly in the darkness between stars. Inside, Ambassador Veltar looked at the glowing screens with tired eyes. His blue skin showed his age through small wrinkles around his mouth. For 300 years, he had worked for the Galactic Council. In all that time, he had seen the same thing happen over and over again. A new species would be found. The Council would make contact. The species would join the galaxy peacefully. It was always the same pattern. Sir, we have the reports about the new species, said his assistant, holding a data pad. Veltar waved one of his forearms. Tell me quickly, I have other meetings today. They call themselves humans. They live on a planet called Earth in the Sol system. Their technology is very basic. They use chemical rockets and metal ships. They still fight wars with projectile weapons. Projectile weapons? Veltar laughed. You mean they throw pieces of metal at each other? How amusing. What else? They seem to fight a lot, sir. Our observers say they have had thousands of wars in their history. They divide their planet into different groups that compete with each other. Typical for a young species. They will learn better ways when we teach them. Send the usual first contact message. Tell them about the Council and our peaceful ways. Far away on a human ship called Soul's Pride, Captain Lee Tae-min sat in his command chair. He was a tall man with short black hair and serious eyes. His uniform was clean and pressed, showing his military training. The ship was not beautiful, like the alien vessels his crew had spotted, but it was strong and well built. Captain, we're getting a message from the unknown ship, said his communications officer. Put it on the main screen. The screen showed a creature with blue skin and forearms. It spoke in perfect Korean, which surprised everyone on the bridge. Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Commander Quendal of the Galactic Council. We welcome you to the greater galaxy. You are now under our protection and guidance. Captain Lee looked at his crew. Dr. Park Nari, the ship's scientist, stepped forward. She was a smart woman who had studied alien life for many years, though she had never expected to meet any. This is amazing, she whispered. Real aliens. Captain Lee stood up. Open a channel. Channel open, sir. Commander Quendal, this is Captain Lee Tae-min of the Korean Space Force. We thank you for your greeting. We would like to learn more about your council and discuss how our peoples can work together. There was a pause. Then Quendal spoke again, and his voice sounded confused. Work together? I think you misunderstand, Captain. We do not work with new species. We guide them. You will send representatives to learn our ways. Your weapons will be destroyed. Your military will be disbanded. This is how all species join the galactic community. Commander Kim Woo-jin, the ship's tactical officer, stepped closer to Captain Lee. Kim was shorter than the captain but had the build of a fighter. His eyes were always watching, always thinking about defense and attack. "Sir," Kim whispered, "they're telling us to surrender without even knowing us." Captain Lee nodded slightly. He looked back at the screen. "Commander Quendall, we appreciate your offer, but we cannot accept those terms. Earth values its independence. We would prefer to meet as equals and find ways to benefit both our peoples." This time, the pause was much longer. When Quendall spoke again, his 4 arms were moving, in what looked like confusion. "Equals? Captain, you must understand. Your species is very new to space. You have primitive technology. You still fight wars on your planet. The Council has existed for 50,000 years. We have brought peace to millions of worlds." "And how did you bring this peace?" Captain Lee asked. "By teaching species to give up their violent ways. By showing them that cooperation is better than competition. By helping them evolve past their primitive instincts." Dr. Park Nari had been listening carefully. She knew about human history and how humans had spread across Earth. She understood that competition and conflict had made humans stronger and smarter. "Captain," she said quietly, "I don't think they understand what made us successful as a species." "Captain," Lee thought about this. He looked around his bridge at his crew. These men and women had worked hard to get here. They had competed with thousands of others for their positions. They had trained in difficult conditions and learned to work together under pressure. "Commander Quendall," Captain Lee said, "we thank you for your concern. But humans have reached space because of our competitive nature, not despite it. We do not wish to give up what has made us strong." "Captain, you are being foolish. Do you know what happens to species that refuse Council guidance?" "I assume you will tell us." "They face corrective action. The Council cannot allow dangerous species to threaten galactic peace." Captain Lee felt his jaw tighten. Commander Kim stepped forward, his hand moving instinctively toward his weapon. "Are you threatening us, Commander?" Captain Lee asked. "I am offering you a choice, Captain. Join willingly or be forced to join. Either way, humanity will become part of the galactic community under Council rules." The Bridge of Soul's Pride became very quiet. Every crew member understood what they had just heard. The aliens were not offering friendship. They were demanding surrender. Captain Lee looked at each of his officers. Dr. Park looked worried but determined. Commander Kim looked ready for a fight. The other crew members showed the same mix of concern and resolve. "Commander Quendall, we need time to discuss this with our government. How long can you give us?" "1 of your months. That should be enough. Time for your leaders to see reason." "Very well, we will contact you in 30 days with our answer." The screen went dark. For a moment, nobody spoke. "Dr. Park, what do you think?" Captain Lee asked. "I think they genuinely believe they are helping us, sir. But they also genuinely believe we have no choice in the matter. In their minds, they are like parents dealing with difficult children." "And if we refuse," Commander Kim answered, "then they'll try to force us, sir. The question is whether they can." Captain Lee walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Earth was far away, but he could imagine the blue and green planet where his family lived. He thought about his daughter, who was studying engineering so she could build better spaceships. He thought about the billions of humans who had never given up when things looked impossible. "Send a message to Earth Command," he said. "Full report on first contact. Include our analysis that the aliens view us as children to be controlled, not partners to work with." "Yes, sir." "And Commander Kim, I want you to start thinking about their ship design. If we have to fight, I want to know their weaknesses." "Already on it, sir." Dr. Park looked at the data they had collected. "Captain, there's something else. Their technology is very advanced, but they seem to have no experience with real conflict. When you mentioned fighting, Commander Quendall looked genuinely confused. What do you mean?" "I think they've been at peace so long that they've forgotten how to really fight. Their corrective action might be more like police work than warfare." Captain Lee nodded slowly. "That could be useful information." He looked around at his crew again. These people represented the best of humanity. They were smart, brave, and willing to work together against any threat. But they were also competitive, independent, and proud of what they had achieved. 1 month, he said. In 1 month, we give them our answer. I have a feeling they won't like what we have to say. Outside the ship, the alien vessel waited silently. Commander Quendall was already preparing his report for the council. In his mind, the conversation had gone as expected. The humans would resist at first, but they would see reason when they understood the council's power. He had no idea that he had just met a species that had never learned to surrender and had no intention of starting now.